Real Estate Rewired.
There we go. So actually, Jason, we were talking about and the bullshit that happens when you become a new agent and how difficult it is.
Yeah.
So I want to reflect back what my experience was and then see where your experience was. Or a business owner, okay, I'm going to get into real estate because I'm going to basically have my own business. So I like that. You're hearing about, hey, you're going to make 200 grand a year. I like that. Then you get in and it really takes 2, 3, 4 years of putting in lots and lots and lots of time before you start to really are able. I mean, I think I worked 100 hours a week. This is 25 years ago. For the first year, I think I made 21 grand.
Yeah. Sounds about right. First year's brutal.
Right? So, yeah. So what was your experience coming in?
I mean, I had 2 companies before.
Tell the
so I
truth.
kinda
What was it
knew.
like? What were they telling you? Yeah.
Yeah. So my mentor, he told me, the beginning's gonna be tough. Are you prepared to not make money for a year possibly? And I was. But the reality of that, when you're actually in it and doing it, and your wife is like, hey, you've had these big businesses before, you're Mr. Businessman, and you haven't made any money in 6 months. What are we doing here? So that that reality kind of hits you pretty quick. So luckily, after that discussion, I got my first deal done. But yeah, it took 6 months of, just hard work and just cultivating all the leads and building my network. And it was extra hard too, because I was new to Chicago. We had just moved to Chicago. It wasn't like I was from here. So I had to do everything from scratch.
So what lessons did you learn about your sort of first onboarding that you've brought to your current situation? Because, I mean, you told me about someone, I think it was 78 days from the time you onboarded her to her first closing or something in that realm.
Yeah. So that was one of my biggest goals, was that new people coming in, they get their first deal in their first 4 months. So we got a standardized training program here, which most places say they do, but they don't really. So ours is very structured. It's 100 days. It's the Brian Buffini 100 Days of Greatness course. You have to do that here at my office because it works. It's not just vibes and feeling. It's data. 2.5 more deals per year if you do that course. So one of my agents, from the day she got her license to the day she got her first commission check, was 78 days. I mean, that's crazy. When you figure the average close in Chicago is 44 days from when you sign a contract to when you close. So 44 days was the actual work on the deal. So she really only, in the first 30 days, she fought for leads. She found her clients. She took them to houses to buy. She qualified them as buyers and what they wanted to buy, found them a good deal and negotiated the deal and got it to the finish line. So 78 days. And the whole time she was doing this coursework, and that's what set her up for success. And we're at 90% of new people, brand new people, are getting deals within their first 4 to 5 months. Pretty happy with that.
Which is amazing, right? I mean, that's really unheard of. And what do you think is the main differentiator? Like, what are you guys doing differently than the typical, big box brokerage?
Well, I have a rule. If you haven't heard from me in 4 days as the managing broker here, then I'm dead, because I have a tracker that I'm pretty strict with. It lights up red. If I haven't talked to somebody in the office at least once every 4 days, all the alarms go off on my phone, on my computer, on my email. I know I got to reach out to that person. So every 4 days minimum contact from the managing broker. I don't know how many people I've talked to and new agents who have come here, after their first year, second year, and they say, I've never even met my managing broker. And that's just crazy to me. You need some kind of mentorship when you're new. And it's a huge pet peeve of mine that people aren't getting that. And then they wonder why our dropout rate is 70% or whatever in the first year. You got to train people, you got to cultivate, you got to coach them. And it's not that hard. It's just that people don't want to take the time to do it.
Well, I also think, right? I mean, you become a real estate agent, you're brand new, and you go sit in the office and maybe you take some, you do some desk time and you reach out to your circle of influence and say, hey, I'm at this brokerage now. And then what? Right? It's kind of like, well, I didn't get any calls. And so, I've always been a big fan of educating yourself about the market, seeing a lot of property, talking to a lot of people, like being out there so that I actually have some context about whether or not this is a good deal or not. So is that part of what you're talking to folks about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that analyzing the market and analyzing, different categories of properties in different neighborhoods. There's plenty of information out there for that. And, we're going to talk about AI later, but that's really helpful in doing that stuff too now. The big thing is, are they actually having conversations with people every day? Are they actually out talking to people and cultivating relationships? Because the whole job is based on, do people know, like, and trust you? And the only way they're going to know, like, and trust you is if you're out there interacting with them. So I break everything down so it's super easy, to the point where everyone in this office knows how many conversations they need to have per day to get to their gross commission income goals. So I'll ask them all the time, how many conversations have you had today? What's your goal every day? If they're supposed to have 2 or 3 calls, or 10 or 15, and they haven't hit it, I'm like, go do some calls. You need to call some people. That's all it comes down to, really. Just be nice and talk to people.
And then for me, I also need to know something. I guess why I'm a little bit about this point. So like when I first,
I get what you're saying. Like, the book part is the easy part, because anybody can sit and watch videos or read a book.
Right.
That's easy because it's passive, right? A lot of realtors have a lot of knowledge. I find knowledge is not the problem. The problem is getting them to actually convey their knowledge to their sphere, to their leads, to the people they're connected to. That's the real issue.
Right. So to your point, like when New York City, 865,000 apartments, I'm there for the first day. I mean, how do you even begin, right? And there were 2 things that I did that created success right away. Back then, there was no internet. The Sunday Times would come out. They would run a classified ad. People would call the broker's office and leave a voicemail on his voice machine. He got there at 9. I got there at 8:55. So when he showed up at the office and he had 12 voicemails with phone numbers, he would hand them to me. That was number 1 lesson. Number 2 lesson, he said, Gus, go narrow and deep. Pick one neighborhood, one price point, one size apartment. And so I chose the West Village studio apartments. There were only 18 of them. And I went into every single one of those in 2 days. So all of a sudden now I knew more about studios in the West Village than anybody on the planet at that moment. And so when the call came in for the studio in the West Village, and I knew it all, I just needed that little chunk to start to build some confidence. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah. I mean, for new folks, we feed them a lot of rental leads, because rentals will get you paid faster, and you'll see more neighborhoods that way. So we kind of feed new people a lot of rental, just to get them going, get their confidence up, get them used to talking to people about property. So, yeah.
Got it. So let's jump into the AI part. We talked about this a little bit, right? Like every job description is a series of hey, wait, come on in a little bit closer. What does that say? I love it. We also talked about AI and coffee is a little dangerous. But what are you doing with AI right now in the brokerage? How do you see it fitting in? What processes are taking over for you?
Well, we use AI for process, not a lot of fact checking or depending on it for facts, because it screws up on facts a lot. But for process, it's been super helpful. Specifically like email, we get tons and tons of email. So we have AI built into our email system that will filter and sort the emails and then actually put them into drives for us in folders that are labeled for each property. So that's something we used to do manually, and it sounds so simple, but it saves hours and hours every week for every agent that uses it. It's great. It just looks at my email and it says, hey, 222 Indiana Street, looks like you have a deal. I'm going to make a folder for you. Is that cool? And that's great. Make that folder. Is this the buyer? Yep, that's the buyer. Is this the buying agent? Yes, it is. It just puts it all together once it has the framework. So that's been super great. Like, it's just simple process stuff that it helps with.
Right. So was that something that you guys built? Was it an off the shelf? Like, how did you create that?
No, that's called Folio. And then
got it.
We get that through Remax, through my franchise. So that's really nice. It's a good one that we use. We use a lot of Google Notebook, LLM, just to condense things. I'm in so many meetings every day, and all my agents, they have meetings and trainings and all kinds of stuff. And I mean, just before I got on this podcast, I was literally in 2 meetings at the same time and
Mhm.
dealing with a client's concerns and agent concerns, right? So I'm obviously not focused on these 2 meetings, but I got Gemini running in the background, taking notes and transcribing everything, right? So now I
Mhm.
got the transcript automatically for these meetings. Well, and everything's been recorded too. Well, these meetings were both over 60 minutes long. I don't have any
Mhm.
time to do 60-minute, 2 hours for 2 meetings. So I'll just dump them both into Google LLM. They can condense it into either a podcast, like 8, 9 minute podcast for me with 2 people
Mhm.
talking. I'll listen to it in the car on the way to pick up my kids. Or I could just, if it's something really simple and boilerplate, I can just have it made into an infographic. I can even do slides. It's great AI for like simplifying, bigger meetings that I don't need to necessarily sit through the whole thing.
Well, it's interesting, right? My tagline is AI turns what you love into a superpower and takes what you hate off your plate. And
Yeah.
one of the interesting things, and I'm curious as to how you handle this, Jason, is the workflow, right? And the tasks. AI can do more and more of it, and there's different ways to do it. Like how do you do a self-audit on an ongoing basis about what your workflows are and what AI should be doing, shouldn't be doing, can be doing? Like, what's your process for that?
Like a self audit for my own personal workflow,
Well,
or
yeah, I mean, it's like, listen, I go through, right, and I go, hey, there. I'll give you a perfect example. What happened to get us on this show? AI did 100% of that, right? It sent out the emails, it's the LinkedIn, however you got here. Once you're here, I'm going to have the conversation with you. Like AI is never going to do that.
yeah,
But what I realized, I'll give you a perfect example. When I first started doing the podcast, I had 20 people a week. And then I get off and I go, what did I say to this person? What were my deliverables? What were my agreements? When's the next appointment? So I recognize that within my own workflow, I needed to create another AI that handled that part of the process. So I'm wondering, like in your process with your agents, do you sit down once a month? Like, what's your process for figuring out what to automate?
I mean, because AI is improving all the time, so I have time in my calendar set aside every Friday. I do 30 minutes, and
Got it.
I go to my Claude, my Gemini, and my Chat GPT, my top 3, right? And I just
Hmm.
ask them. I say, hey, look at my week. Here's everything that I did. Where can I improve? What can I make better? Is there any new product? Is there any new flavor out there of AI that's gonna make me better? And then I check to see if it's proven. One of the things I was wasting a ton of time on and this came from my 3 helpers. I was wasting a ton of time on social media leads, like trying to go
Mm,
through Facebook groups or through LinkedIn. I mean, I got 10,000 contacts on LinkedIn. That's a ton of stuff to sift through. Um,
right.
so, I like scroll, on my phone real quick, but I was wasting a lot of time on that. So they suggested I use this AI called Devi, DEVI. And what it does is it takes all the keywords that I'm looking for a realtor, buying a house, things like that. And I feed it into Devi. And then I put all the groups in there that I'm on in Facebook. And Devi literally will I have it set now for every 4 hours, will send me a report and say, hey, here's possible leads. And it'll categorize them by how important they are. And I don't even have to go into Facebook. I just go through and I look at these leads now. It saves me a ton of time. I can go through like 140 in like 10 minutes. It's so easy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what other workflows have you automated with AI?
I don't know. We have so many built in to we have a system with Remax where we use our CRM. It has so many automations in it. Basically, anytime a client comes into my phone, I mean, if somebody calls me for the first time, it just dumps into my CRM automatically.
Hmm.
And then it sets them up depending on how I classify them. I can classify them under different categories, seller, buyer, vendor, agent, whatever. It'll put them in a drip campaign that I've already set up and it'll touch them. A good example is like, let's say an open house. We'll sign them in at an open house. Boom. I know that they're going to be in a drip campaign where they're going to get 15 touches minimum from the AI. There's going to be text messages, emails, sending them information that they're going to be interested in looking at. And then at any time, if they come back and start looking in the system again, I get a notification of that. So I don't even have to. It used to be I'd be scrolling through and tracking in my phone all these people that came through open houses and trying to keep up with them manually.
Hmm.
Now The AI that's built in does everything for us.
So let me ask you this, with the advent of all of these new tools, right? And you've heard the term AI slop. And as people get more sort of aware of, hey, this is an AI talking to me,
Mhm.
do you see that as a danger? And what sort of guardrails do you think need to be put into place so that people don't feel like they're being played, I guess is the way I would put it?
Yeah, I mean, I have a general rule where if somebody interacts with the AI or the automation, I reach out and give them that human voice automatically because I'm trying to touch at least 15 people every day anyway. Talk to
Hmm.
15 people, have conversations with them, like real conversations.
Right.
So that gives me an in, that gives me an opportunity. That's like a freebie for me. If somebody who went to an open house 2 summers ago now all of a sudden is poking around on my webpage looking at houses, I know I need to give them a call, right? So that I
Right.
think is where it comes in. You don't let the AI do everything. You just let it prompt you. Let you know when people need you.
Got it.
Yeah.
And here's another interesting one. I'm just curious as to your take on it. So I think the SaaS companies are in trouble, right? Because the whole subscription model, I'm going to pay QuickBooks, $159 a year for the last 20 years, but it's too thick for me. It doesn't really do what I want it to do. It's kind of a pain in the ass to figure it out. Now Tiller comes along and says, hey, for 79 bucks a year, we'll put it in a Google spreadsheet. We'll attach to all your credit cards. You can ask it in plain language, what's my burn rate? So SaaS is out the door, but now I'm even thinking, Jason, when you think about like even a CRM, right?
Mhm.
AI CRM. The next iteration of this is agentic AI is going to be able to take any workflow that you have and customize it to your personality, your specific workflow. So, do you see that happening in the future where you're not really even plugged into Folio or Devi or CRM? You're just customizing all of this for your business.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it already is that way. I mean, my CRM lives on my phone. I rarely look at it on a laptop. We have
Hmm.
a mobile version of it that lives on my phone. I got the phone that gets so that I can actually see what's going on.
Okay.
the,
Right.
the big
Right.
one. My eyes are going. So, I mean, I live on the phone. I'd say 95% of everything I do is on my phone now. So, versus the
Mm.
laptop. But it's so integrated with my contact list. It knows when it'll tell me when people are doing anything, any kind of behavior. It gives me alerts now when people get married and when they are getting divorced and stuff like that. So I could check in on them. And,
Right.
it's a combination of being there and being a good person, but it's also obviously going to lead to business too.
Hmm.
The two are so intertwined in real estate. So that's just kind of how it is.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a tool to get you in front of the people that may be transitioning either into or out of a home at a time when it's important to them. I have always found that's one of the challenges, right? I mean, if you're selling a home, I sold you a home 6 months ago. I'm a nice guy, but you're kind of done with me. You know what I mean? Like you're not really wanting to have more conversations. On the other hand, I need to stay in touch with you in a way that lives in your world. So if someone in your sphere of influence is moving, you're thinking of Jason or Gus before you think of somebody else. And that's a tricky balance. Do you find that to be true?
Yeah,
How
I
to stay
mean,
in touch with people in a way that's relevant to them.
yeah, I mean, I live by a rule though. If I'm not giving gold to that person, I don't call them. If I got nothing to
Hmm.
talk to them about, then there's no reason. This is the one thing I'm so burned out on social media. I can't even tell you. I've been on social media since Friendster, like way
Hmm.
back. The only thing I use social media for anymore is, if somebody pops up in my life or in through the AI, they're like digging around looking at stuff and I need to reach out to them. I'll go look at social media and I'll see, oh, your kid is in swimming now, is taking up swimming lessons. Hey, so is my kid. So now I've got something to talk to them about. If I haven't talked to them in a long time, now I've got some common ground, right? I'm not trying to call people and just say, hey, I could use a referral. I'm calling them and
Right.
I'm talking about family, what they're doing for recreation, what their goals are, bigger things. Occupation and work will come naturally through the conversation. And once people start asking about real estate, then, you go from there.
So who do you serve, Jason? Right? Like who right now, where are you going in the next 6 months, 12 months? I know you're all fired up about like making agents' life a lot easier and reducing the friction to them having an abundant life, that they actually have enough time to go and, and honor the fact that they said they would go to their kid's baseball game at 7 o'clock on a Thursday night. They're showing up and doing that.
Yep.
So who else do you serve? Who's your ideal client?
Well, I mean, my clients personally, as the owner and the managing broker, my clients are the agents.
Got it.
That's what I serve. If they call me right now, I'm gonna pick up during this podcast. I
Got
don't,
it.
or I'm gonna text them and say I'll get back to you in 5 minutes. That is the number one priority. I was so, once I understood what the brokerages for the most part were doing and how they were exploiting the agents, I was so pissed off. And I just said, this is crazy. I can do it way better. So my driver every day is just to put more money in the agents' pockets, get rid of all these junk fees, give them the highest possible commission splits and the best training. That's what I'm focused on. I don't service a lot of clients in buying and selling properties anymore. Mostly that's like family and
Right.
really close friends. If they request me specifically, then I'll do it. But most of those I'm referring out to my agents because they deserve better. I mean, the agents, they are managing a major milestone in somebody's life. I mean, it's on the same level as a funeral, a birthday, a anniversary, a wedding. Buying a house is a big thing. Every kid remembers if they moved to a new house. It's a huge deal. And these agents have a lot of responsibility in that deal to make sure it works for their clients. So for them to be worried also that they have to pay some stupid listing fee, why do they have to pay another $600 on top of their commission split? Why are they being overcharged for E&O insurance? I hear people paying $1,500 for E&O insurance. That's crazy for a year. You should never be paying that much. That's just greed from the brokerages. So for me, I just got rid of all that. That's the whole thing. More money in their pockets. That's all I care about.
And so someone who's thinking of, let's take a new agent, right? Someone who's never been in real estate. What would you say to them in terms of why to do this, what type of qualities they would have to have, what to expect? Like, give me a little sense of if I said, "Hey, Jason, I'm thinking about getting into real estate." What would be your advice to me?
First, are you able to pay your bills without having any money come in for the next 4 months? Is that a reality? That's number one. I don't want anybody in the soup kitchen line because they possibly are not going to make any money for a few months. Because in the beginning, that's a real possibility. So I make that very, very clear with everybody. I make them tell me, what's your plan? Do you have money stashed away? Are you really going to be able to do this? So that's rule number one. And then two, I mean, are you gonna call people every day? Are you gonna talk to people every day? Are you gonna go out and interact with people every day? Because this is a people business. This is not a sit in your office or sit in your room or cubicle and somebody's going to tell you what to do every day. All the agents are independent contractors. So do you understand what it is to run a business? Because you're going to be a business. So, and if you don't, let's talk through that. Let's see if your goals are even obtainable that first year and kind of what that strategy is. So I basically make sure they're set financially to take the risk. And then I talk them through kind of a rudimentary business plan, kind of see where they want to be, and then talk about the strengths and weaknesses that they have from previous experience and how that translates to real estate and kind of help them develop from there. So after we go through that, usually we have a good idea whether it's going to be something they want to do or not. I've had people come in and I talk them through these 2 steps and they're like, I really appreciate it. I definitely did not understand what this was going to entail. And I'm going to go do something else. And that's fine.
Yeah, listen,
Yeah.
save them a lot of time and aggravation. So what about someone who's been banging around for 2 or 3 or 4 years? They're kind of, at the bottom doing 2 or 3 deals a year, but really living a poverty mentality and not really happy and feels like, hey, I could do this. I just don't know how. What's your advice to them and what are you doing differently than those other brokerages?
Well, the amazing thing is we have agents who have been doing this 10, 15 years who have never had a business plan done. They've never done a business plan. That's just mind-blowingly crazy. They're just reacting to what comes their way. They have no managing broker has guided them. No mentor has guided them. That's the number one thing I hear from agents who have, a few years of experience up to 20 years experience. is they don't have support from their managing broker or their mentor, which is crazy. I mean, most people just need to know what 3 or 4 basic things they should do every day to get to what their goal is. A lot of people, they've never even been asked, what is your gross commission income goal for the year? You know, they have no idea. And once you break it down, well, if you do this, it'll lead to this, and this is what you should do every day. And once we give that to those people, it's crazy how quick they take off. I had a guy just come in from one of the top 5 brokerages in the country. I met him in an open house, and I looked around, I talked to him a little bit, and he's very smart. And I was just like, you're so smart, but your open house is terrible. Like, did you never get trained how to do this? And he's like, no, I have never been trained how to do this. He's been in the business a year, and he's never been trained how to do an open house. They're just like, here, go do an open house. It's crazy. So he switched over within a couple days. You know, I brought him into the office. I said, this is what we're going to do for you. He's been with us a month and a half. He's got 2 properties under contract.
Wow.
Didn't take much. He did a thing with the other brokerage, not a single deal. And we got 2 under contract. Crazy.
How does it feel either for you when someone comes in and closes their first deal in 78 days, or comes over from someplace else where they're struggling and closes 2 deals at that time frame?
I jump up and down and dance. I love it. I love it. Yeah, because that's like the only time I'm like not angry at all the bullshit. Because the second best part is when they get their commission, because I don't put any of the stupid bullshit fees in there. And they see, because how depressing is it to get a commission check for $87.50, which is our average commission check in Chicagoland, $87.50, and then the brokerage takes $600 for the privilege of listing the property. Then they take another $200 for administrative fee, even though you're the one loading everything into the computer. Then they take $600 for the quarter for your E&O, and then they take another $50 for website fee. They just all these made up fees. And then they split, and their splits are like, they're taking like 30-40% of your commission. And you walk away, instead of $87.50, you're getting like $4,000. That's crazy.
Before taxes.
Right. Before expenses, before your gas money and your car insurance and all of the stuff that you had to print out for the property. It just blows my mind. So I love it when my people get their commission check off of $87.50 and it's over $8,000. They're pretty excited. So that's the other real feel good.
Got it. Well, Jason, man, this has been fantastic. Why don't you let agents in the Chicago area know that if they're thinking of jumping on board, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, Remax Metropolitan. Just give me a call. I'll give you my number, 347-368-8872. You can find us online. We're on all the socials, all that good stuff. But yeah, if you text 347-368-8872, you'll get me. And I'll text you back right away. Let's get your business going and get you paid. More money for the agents, please.
Love that, Jason, man. It's obvious you got a passion for letting people not have to go through the same struggles you went in the beginning. This was a great conversation, and I really appreciate you jumping on, so thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me, even though I'm probably the worst guest you've ever had.
Not at all. Hold on. We'll stay on for a second. Let me just say to my guests, thank you for watching Real Estate Rewired AI with a Heart with Gus Waite. Go ahead, subscribe, reach out, DM. If you want to be on the show, go ahead and give me a call. And remember, AI is supposed to turn what you love into a superpower and take what you hate off your plate. Keep learning, keep showing up, keep being of service. Thank you for watching. If you've got value from today's episode, hit subscribe, leave a comment. I'd love to know what you're thinking. If you're ready to turn what you love into your superpower and take what you hate off your plate, schedule your free AI discovery call. The link is in the description and pinned comment. I'm Gus Waite. Until next time.